Hello, everybody. We're back with another super exciting Funtico Restream episode, this time with our new, very special partner, Ludo. And here we have our main man, Shahab Ganji, representing Ludo and the entire company. So before we get into all of it, Shahab, please, I'm going to do a brief reminder for everybody later, about Funtico related stuff. But for now, the floor is yours. If you could just give a brief introduction about who you are, what you do, and what Ludo is about too.
Yes, perfectly. Yes. So I'm Sharp from Ludo. I'm the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer. I'm with the company almost 3 years now. And what Ludo is, basically, you can describe it as the Google of the Web3 space. So the whole reason why Ludo came into existence is because one of the co-founders is from the search engine optimization space, and search
Okay.
engine optimization is basically about bringing defragmentation together. So if there wouldn't be a Google, we wouldn't even know how to find certain websites, because in Web 2 is totally unnormal that you go and spend time in Discord and Telegram to figure out what's happening with those websites. You have like a centralized place where everything is structured, and there is an algorithm behind it, which in Google it's called the PageRank. So the PageRank defines which pages are going to be listed. And we don't have this centralized place in the Web3 space. So we have the defragmentations, new projects coming up, new blockchains coming up. It's so much. It's impossible to keep up. Yeah, that's the one thing. And then even if you kind of keep up, is then also what is worth your time. So there's the two problems that Ludo started to find a solution for it. And the first thing is a whole infrastructure, is a scraping mechanism, looking into all the blockchains, understanding the blockchains, normalization. This goes very technically, but at the end of the day, to find one common ground to understand all the different blockchains that when a user wants to search something, that we can deliver them so it doesn't understand what smart contract blockchains. That's one thing. The second thing is to have an algorithm that gives basically the importance and the authority, which is what we call basically the reputation and the trust rank. And that's a Ludo rank. The Ludo rank is a reputation-based score in the Web3 that's very simple to explain. Is basically your history, what you've done in the entire chain in the blockchains, because you leave a trace, all the projects you interacted, all the assets you hold, how you hold them, if you dump them, if you trade, whatever you do, your entire interest is basically laid out, which creates a trace of your reputation. And this we use to create it as a core to deliver the discovery and the tailored matchmaking system. So since it took a very, very, very long time to build the entire infrastructure, because we didn't want to rely on third-party solutions, because they normally have some kind of bottlenecks. So therefore, we had to build everything ourselves, which we have done. Now we're building everything on top of it to provide the solution. So one of this will be discovery, which means then that when you log in to Ludo and we have your wallet, we know your Ludo rank, we know your reputation, but we also know your interest. So we can do the matchmaking and help you with the discovery of Web3. When we say, hey, you like gaming in the Web3 space, here's a project called Funtico. You will most likely, that will be something of your kind. And then we connect you, then you go to Funtico and then see, hey, it's something, there's an opportunity. And what we not only do, we don't only just connect you to blockchain projects, but we also connect you to opportunities. Basically, that your time will be worthwhile, that you go and can earn something or claim an airdrop or something like that. Which then comes to the next problem in the space, that with the entire network effect, there's always the negative network effect, and it's basically the scaling problem and the bot problem. Yeah, so we have more and more bots coming, and that's a problem that's happening, and a lot of projects face a problem when it comes to airdrops, because airdrops is a very valid way of finding a community, building a community, and decentralizing the tokens when they publish it. It used to be a very nice solution, but now they'll be front run with bots. So the bots not only come and take the tokens, but also they're really misbehaving, because they sell the token, they drop it directly. Yeah, so that's a bad thing. So they don't really gain new customers or users. They don't have people that hold it. So they would have even been better off to not airdrop the token. So therefore, the whole project needs a solution, because if I know that you're a real user that is most likely going to look into my project, I'm willing to give you a token for free, or many. Why not? Because it's a win-win situation. But if I give you the token and you're a bot, or you're not gonna want it, so why am I gonna do this? So that's the problem. Projects are willing to do it, but they have the problem that the whole bots are there. And this is where Ludo comes into place with the Ludo rank. So we filter, because of the entire blockchain history that you have on your reputation, we can see that you're not a bot. Very simple. Okay, we can see
Mhm.
that you have done real transactions, that you hold assets and all of this, and then becomes the gateway, a filter into the Web3 space. Basically, you log to Ludo, we can see you have real reputation, and based on your reputation level, we open doors to opportunities. So Funtico says, we just don't want to have any bots. We want to open our gaming platform to users out there. We're even willing to give them 100 Tico, but we want to be sure that's a real user. And that's exactly what Ludo provides as a solution. We gate. So that means people have to connect their wallet through Ludo. And once their reputation proves they're a real user, we open up the opportunity for them so they can then go and claim their tokens.
Got you. Yeah, that sounds super awesome. And as you said, like it's awesome that you did all of this. Let's call it heavy lifting. In terms of like, as you said, scraping all of the different blockchains, so users don't have to kind of like go in manually, like on individual block explorers and look for stuff. But then also, as you said, this kind of like reputation is always like a very controversial topic, like in Web3, because as we know, as the industry is moving forward, there's always there's always real builders, but there's always like malicious actors and malicious players who, as you said, either want to like farm as much things as possible, whether it be like airdrops, or it's like even farming their own user bases, like in certain aspects. So for you to be able to kind of like have this reputation be very like transparently displayed on chain,
and measurable, and
think it's
also not
legit.
fakeable. Because one thing that you said is also about what they do. For example, a
Mhm.
common thing is wash trading. Yeah. So
Yeah.
basically inflating the volumes to create a nice reputation that this project is in demand. Okay. And most of the projects that have some kind of scores, they don't look into this. They don't look into the real transactions, or they don't look, for example, if a wallet holds a token, they say, okay, and then they calculate their score. But the thing is, we don't also look like if you hold the token, but also if you pay for the token. Because I, as a project, can airdrop you the
Mhm.
project or a token. You never wanted it. But some will say, oh, look, this
So
token is
many
everywhere.
holders,
Yes.
right?
So
Yeah.
we have a lot of metrics, yeah, at the moment around 80 that are
Mhm.
looking into all of those things that you cannot it's basically impossible to fake them without millions. So you gotta put a lot of money into it because you can fake any system, right? But the
Yeah, yeah,
question is then if it's worth it on that scale. So if you
yeah, yeah.
really want to fake it, you have to basically simulate the reality.
Got you. Yeah, and then the question is, like, was the investment, as you said, worth
Yes,
it in
exactly.
that
Because
case?
the scammers are not interested in those kind of things because too much effort. So they
Got
basically cannot fake it.
got you. Well, first of all, thank you for this like very detailed, like look into what Ludo is and what Ludo does. And we obviously wouldn't be getting involved with you guys like if we didn't believe what you were building was super cool. So like cheers to the partnership one more time. All of this aside for a second, I'm gonna like ask you more like project related questions in a second. But if you could just give a brief introduction of yourself professionally, just kind of like your experience in the space and what kind of like drove you to crypto in the beginning anyway, just so our listeners can get a better feel of like who are the people behind Ludo as well.
Okay, that's an interesting story. So I started as a graphic designer a
Okay.
long time ago, like 26 years. Okay,
Okay.
26 years ago. Okay, so and then I was in the graphics space, and then marketing, advertising, all of those. Then I changed into consultancy, and then I went into brand identity marketing, business and brand strategy, business
Mhm.
brand identity. So that has been basically what I've been doing for the last over a decade. And then what I've seen always also is where the trends where people go. So one thing has always been like digital products, and the other trend has been Web3. Okay, because that like I started in 2016. So the first time I bought my Bitcoin, it was 2,700 euros in cash. So
Okay.
that's my very first Bitcoin, a full one, yeah, for
Yeah.
2,700 euros. Okay, and then I was in the mining space as well. So that was something that I've done, which we know wasn't really like paying off. At the end of the day, you just bought it and you keep. But it's all the things you figure out at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
then this is how I got to different projects because of my skills that I had in the marketing and a little bit 3D animation. So I got to some projects. And then
Mhm.
once I went to one project and I did something, and that's where it's like a whole
It
community.
snowballed, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It snowballed. And then I was with one project, and that project, one of those guys that were there is a co-founder of Ludo. And that
Okay.
Yeah, and because I was there involved as a community guy and as a, I don't even know what my title was, but I was helping with the videos and the marketing and stuff.
Mhm.
And he has seen what I've been doing. And then later on, like as a little over 3 years ago, I started as a business and brand advisor for venture capital. So which
Okay.
I'm still related is a venture capital in the Web3 space, and we have different kind of projects. We do invest, and Ludo is one of those projects. And
Mhm.
when I came to venture capital, they already invested in Ludo. I came a little bit later. But then Ludo was looking for a head of marketing, and then they said talk to Sharp, and
You were
this
the
is where
man
I
for
got
the
to where
job.
yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly. And then the Sharp stayed. Yeah, basically, yes, exactly.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, just for a second, like considering your kind of like pretty much extensive experience in the space, because like it's always so funny to me, like when I talk to people that are in the industry, like even just being in crypto for like 4 years is already a lot. You know what I mean? But then you have
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the
There are
OGs
all
that
the
have
memes
been
going
there,
with the
for
people
like
in the
8+ years and stuff, and like those are usually the guys who like I would from my experience, like at this point, they're already kind of like leaving the industry. You know what I mean? They kind of like they reaped all of the benefits of being super early, and now they're kind of like transitioning to other things. But yeah, as someone who obviously has extensive experience in the space, like how do you perceive the current market? How do you feel about this whole bull run that's been going on? Like since the beginning of last year. How do you feel about Solana? And like how does like even like Ludo, I guess, like did Ludo, I guess, in the past year focus on, like exploring all the chains, or were you focused on Solana because Solana had the most traction within the space? Or like, yeah, how do you feel about everything in general?
So feeling how I feel about everything is that this time is everything's different. That's the first thing I feel. That we don't follow this, even though if I look into certain charts, they do kind of resemble. Yeah, they say like
Hmm.
even the recent drop that happened is supposed to be like whatever was. But on the other side, there's certain uncertainty, and this is because crypto is just not, you cannot see it isolated. It always has to do with global politics. And with Trump being there, there's and the whole Trump meme thingy that's basically shake the entire industry and has taken liquidity, and therefore nobody really knows where it is going. And to be honest, it can go in both directions. Right now there is no, like, nobody has the clear the glass ball or the crystal ball looking into it. And I read both sides. I read 100% both sides. So there's argumentations for those both directions. But I think the fear, greed and fear index says that there's a lot of fear right now going on. Yeah. So
Yeah,
therefore, based on that, reversal is near, most likely, but then also you can always drop a little bit deeper, yeah, and lower. So I think it's not going to take too much longer. I think we might go like a month or so sideways, and then it will go up. That's how I think. I don't think the bull run is over. And you see, fear is 25, which is already pretty red. And I think it was even worse before when
yeah.
the
I think
drop.
a
Yeah.
couple of days ago, when once we
Yes.
hit that 87 mark, it was like zero, pretty much.
There you
Sentiment
go.
was
So therefore,
shattered.
I think that this is the normal thing it does, and normally it does always this every time. And that's the one thing that I started to do myself. I hear to normal people that are not really deep in crypto, and I
Mhm.
listen to what they think, and then it's the opposite. So
Yeah,
every
yeah,
time when they say it's gonna go up, and it's like normal people that are not in the space for long, I know that's a reversal sign. And it
yeah.
has been like that because when everybody thinks, because when they start to want to invest, that's exactly
That's
when
when you
it's
got to get
selected.
out.
They buy the top, yes. And then you see now the fear saying is the highest fear. That's why they want to leave. That's
Yeah,
when you even read in some newspapers, or not newspapers, but like newsletters and so on, where they say you might want to secure and take some profits. That's advice going out. So who's taking the advice? The newbies, right? They think,
yeah.
oh, it can go out. Then they sell, and then things turn. So you gotta listen not to the crypto people, but the newbies, and what they say is oftentimes the other way around. And they're being in fear. And this is how all those metrics, anyways, work in trading, right? So they say is the behavior of the masses. How the mass behavior, all the indices say mass behavior, RSI, and so on. It's not like how a rational person would
For sure.
behave, but how would the masses behave? So if the masses are now in fear, this is where it normally goes, it turns around. So I think it's very likely that the good times are still ahead in this year.
For sure. Yeah, I kind of agree with this sentiment. Even though, if we were to kind of like look at it realistically, we have been in a bull market since like I guess beginning of 2023, right? So we have been kind of like, um almost 2 years now, like in a good environment. And like as you said, the market is very cyclical. So like obviously we're getting kind of like close to the finish line for this specific cycle as well. But I definitely do agree with you that like there's still kind of like gas left in the tank, and we probably will be making new highs sooner rather than later, right?
Yeah, but that's a crystal ball, right? Still at the end of the day, because if you look at global politics and what's going on, recession is also in the talks. Okay, that things will go down, and that might be the way how US can get rid of their debts that they have and so on. So if they go into short controlled recession, this happens, the whole market will tank.
Yeah, everything will like fall as dominoes, right?
So I think the best advice is to not go really heavy on leverage in these times. That's a secure bet to do.
I would even say don't go leverage ever. You know what I mean?
No, I think if you're in crypto, you have to do it because you gotta learn yourself with the thrill that it's happening. So you have to do it so you understand why not to do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
sure.
it just needs to catch you one time off guard, and then you're wiped out.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, all of those things aside, I guess like a follow-up question to all of this is, how focused was Ludo on, I guess like trying to like get ahead of the trends that we had in this market? Because you and me both know that kind of like the past 12 months have been mostly revolving solely around meme coins and like extraction systems on meme coins, where it's super weird because we didn't really have like a real alt season. We had a couple of pumps from XRP. BNB did well relatively recently with CZ kind of like pumping his own chain. But yeah, like were you guys at Ludo, like at any point just kind of like trying to get in front of all of the trends that were developing in the market, or do you have basically just like a chain agnostic approach to everything that's going on?
We have a very chain agnostic approach.
Okay.
Yeah. When we talk about trends, we did jump on the NFT trend at the beginning, but not as from the NFT trend side of things, but from a technical side of things, because the NFTs were very easy in comparison to other smart contracts to be found on the blockchain. So you can find an NFT much easier than looking into DeFi and all of this. That's the one reason. The other thing is, when it comes to trends, the way how Ludo is structured is more that we will define a trend. And I can see that also, that reputation is becoming a trend in the Web3 space. And we've been building this for 4 years. So it's funny, right? So you build it, and then now it becomes a narrative. Even the CEO and founder of Coinbase said that this is the thing where it's heading, the reputation. And there have been also 2 other projects that have been going into the space, doing those kind of things, all the analytics, that's popping up. But at the end of the day, you have to build something, believe in it, and do it good. Yeah, because if you only jump on a trend, I mean, the hype time is over. That's what I see also from the VC side of things. You could get like crazy valuations, but by just having an idea, and then you go out and everybody's just throwing. You just need to say AI, and then you get the millions. This is not happening anymore. Yeah. So, and we still have not launched our token yet. Yeah, and you don't find that often that projects are that far developed and have not launched yet because they believe in what they do. And this is because we don't jump on a hype. And we're basically here because we believe in what we do will impact the space, will help the space, and will help it to evolve. And that will take the time it takes. But on the other side, of course, we're pushing to get the things as fast as possible out. And let's go to the one question that you had before, was the Solana thing. Solana is super interesting. But there is one problem with Solana. I think it means like 10,000 projects every block. Okay, that's
pump fund ruined. Yeah, pump fund ruined it for everyone.
That from logistical, technical logistics part of view is immense data. We're talking about, I think I heard the number of 7 gigabytes or something. Like it's like crazy in a very short time. This needs to be processed. While when you look at Base or Ethereum and so on, the data coming in is much smaller in terms of being processed. So that needs a lot of like hardware to be capable to do this. So this is something that Solana will be probably the next one where we go in to do certain things. Although we have Solana already, but there's another project that we're building, or like market intelligence, basically, where we are listening to projects being minted right now. And that requires to go through all those 10,000 basically in real time. And that's a whole nother level. That's the only reason why Solana has taken a little bit longer, because we had to do those things on ones that are a little bit more quiet. Okay, not really quiet. Yeah, for example, like 15,000 projects a day. Yeah,
like
15,000 projects a day.
Not as overwhelming.
Yeah, it's also still something, right? but the whole Solana game has just totally changed, and also the whole pump and dump and the whole scam and all of this is a total different thing. And we're also looking into providing a solution for exactly this trend. So this is a trend basically, that there are projects popping up, and you want to know how likely is this project going to be a good one or not. And this is where the Ludo rank comes also into play. So we are giving it certain metrics. We can analyze the project, and how do we know that if a project launches now, what a reputation it has? It's only a couple of minutes, right? We know it by the user base. So the project is held by people. So why are the people buying into it? And then we can see if certain people buy this project, that means they know something about it. Then we know who these people are. Then we look what projects were they involved in. And then we can match. This is a very complex algorithm. That's a whole Ludo rank, which puts assets, projects, and users into a feedback loop. And then even if a project is new, we can assess it and say the likelihood of it being a scam or not. And of course, we look into smart contract and see if there are any loopholes, anywhere we can take the liquidity out or just do something, backdoor something like that, we can immediately mark as a fraudulent project. But there are some projects that have a high reputation, like a high Ludo rank because of their user base, and they still end up being a pump and dump scheme, okay? And for this, there are other metrics which needs to look into the behavior of the users. Are these dumpers in general? So are these holders or are these dumpers? And we found metrics where we can see, okay, if they're generally dumpers, then there's a likelihood that this project will dunk, and we're learning. We're just getting better and better and better until we have such a good guess, let's say, because it isn't that at the end, a good guess to say if a project is scammy or is it here to stay. And that will then help to people to make more insightful decisions when they look into new projects, at least being warned where we know 100% here you're going to lose your money.
Gotcha. Yeah. And this is super cool because the more tools like you guys are developing that are being developed, like ultimately the safer, the retail consumer is always going to be, right? Because from my experience, like the biggest issue retail consumers, once they get introduced on chain, is like actually being able to differentiate what's real and what's not real, right? And that's where I think like Ludo's whole like ranking system, and not only that, but like before, you could kind of like tell whether a project was good or not simply by like looking at the KOLs that are involved with it, right? So like like you would get
also
like
not oftentimes, yeah. You know what the thing is with the KOLs? There's another thing that we think has to be a little bit rethought, because a KOL in the space has what? Followers. Okay. So what are followers? This is the number in Twitter is the question. Okay, because those can be botted. So we also look into how many of those are paid followers. Okay, which also changes the game. And also we will bring certain solutions where KOLs are going to prove with on-chain behavior and basically a way where you cannot fake it, that they're real KOLs. So we will have like KOL trends coming in the future. We'll have a leaderboard where the KOLs there are 100% KOLs.
Yeah.
And not every KOL will like the solution we provide, because it will just strip away their fake, celebrities.
It's gonna take their business away. Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
exactly. And there are KOLs out there, and I think even the entire space lives off very good with KOLs. And what between Ludo and KOLs, where there's a huge fit, is we do the same. We do market curation. They do it on a personal level. We do it on an automatic level. But we both believe that this market has to be curated somehow. So it's not against KOLs in general. The new right is just to differentiate who are the real KOLs, who have like real influence, and also have certain ethical levels of how they do it, because there are some that say, I don't promote projects that are scammy or they know of. And there are others, they just do whatever. You just pay them a little bit and then they will just shill the project.
Yeah. They do anything for the show. But yeah, it's usually like that too, as you said, like real KOLs, like their calls actually bring volume, right? So it's also easy to tell, like who's bringing in volume and who's not bringing in volume, and to kind of like, be able
unfortunately afterwards only,
yeah.
So you have to hire the person, then you'll figure out afterwards who does the job actually.
For sure. But there's one interesting thing that you just mentioned while you were kind of like talking about, how Ludo came about. And it's just like something I want to connect with you for a second, because we had a very similar situation here at Funtico as well. And you mentioned that you guys, like have been building for like 4 years. a token is still not out, and like you're basically like just focusing on getting the best product and best like user experience possible. And it's kind of very similar, to the approach that we had, because Funtico also, I think, like development started way back in like 2021, kind of like the peak NFT gaming craze that happened with Meta back in the day. And then we just kept building through all of that. And like even with the choice of blockchain that we like ended up making for actually launching and developing, like basically doing this on AVAX, was something that in the current market, like people were kind of like confused about, and like, oh well, it's a ghost man's chain, like why would you go there, why would you build that? But in reality, like it really was optimized for what we were trying to do, which is gaming, right? So like we basically like kind of did this a similar thing, which is kind of like cutting out all of the noise, making the platform, making the product as best as possible, like making people actually want to come there and then keep coming back. And with all of that kind of out of the way, I was just kind of wondering, because I know you and Pavel were kind of like doing the whole negotiation and trying to like get the partnership going and everything. What drew you personally like towards Funtico? Like, well, why did you like want to make this partnership a thing?
At the end of the day, is about what people want to do in the space and what the vision is. And I think that you guys are here to stay, and that's very important. Yeah, you have a big vision for the space, and even that you say like the way that you've been doing the approach is very important, because if you only work for a trend, if you just go where the trend is, what will happen? The trend can leave. For example, we've seen this with Ton, right? So there's a huge trend. Let's say you build everything on it, and then tomorrow the whole communities move, and you've been just doing it because of the trend. So then that's a whole business strategy, in my opinion. You have to do things out of your core beliefs, because you believe in something, and then you do it, and you will automatically filter your tribe. They will automatically come to you, because what you do is with passion and with conviction and with a certain level of quality. And this is what we can see. Yeah? So we can see that you basically have the same approach in the market than we have. And I think long term, because this is a long game. The moment you do gaming on blockchain is a long game. Okay, this is you're building for the future, and once you do it, I think in years to come, chains will not matter anymore. People will not. It will become that you do not even know which chain is happening. There'll be some solutions where you just do it, and it will just happen. The technology will go more and more into the background. It will be there. It will be the layer. It will be, but chain maxes as such will get less and less importance. That's what I believe. Because it's so easy to switch between Avalanche or any other. It's so easy,
I was gonna say, like, do you remember back in 21 how like it was a huge pain in the ass to like bridge from one chain to another, right? And today it's so easy. Like you could just like there's platforms to do it so efficiently, like literally two.
It's literally one click. Yeah, it's literally one click. Yeah, so therefore, I think it's as good as Polygon or Arbitrum or whatever. You couldn't tell the difference.
Doesn't
basically.
matter.
Yeah, it's basically the same kind of click but different button.
Got you. Okay. Now, the next thing I would kind of like to ask you is if you could just give us a little bit more insight into the how you're doing the whole like screening process for the airdrops, because as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, there is currently an airdrop available. I'm going to drop this message right here for everybody also to go to check it out on ludo.com to basically like do go and mint your Ludo reputation NFT. And then you can also get access to the airdrops. Now, as we said, we are currently running like a little airdrop campaign with you guys. Could you explain to everybody out there listening, like what's the edge on, like trying to get to these airdrops via Ludo, and what can they do specifically for the case of the Ludo Funtico one that we're doing right now?
Yes. So the first thing, because we're now slowly bringing everything that we've been building into the public. Yeah. So as we have all the technology now ready, now we're slowly opening up and starting to make those partnerships. So the first thing is when they go to ludo.com/Funtico, and I thought it would be Funtico, whatever. Yes, I don't know why I would have pronounced it that way, but
all good.
It's Funtico. Yeah, so they go on ludo.com/Funtico. Then when they click here, they have to connect the wallet, and we have different Web3 ways they can connect. Once they do it, we calculate. And the best thing, what I suggest is always, because it's an EVM, so you connect the EVM, and then they will Ludo will calculate their Ludo rank, which basically separates them from being human or not. Okay. And because if they have only one transaction or something, unfortunately, they will not qualify yet. So they need a little bit more history in the Web3 space. But then once they have the reputation, so if they have been in the space for quite some time, once they connect, they'll immediately see the Funtico opportunity. They click on it, and then they'll be able to get the 100 Tico. If they do not have a reputation, they will not even see the reputation, not even see the opportunity, and therefore they cannot participate. So therefore, when it comes from bots, when the bots come and click this, they will come to the page and there'll be no opportunity to follow, so they cannot even claim it. And then furthermore, in the future, we'll just have more and more of these partnerships where basically it's a win-win-win situation, because the projects get real users, the users get opportunities, and therefore free airdrops. So everybody's happy because we're providing quality on all ends, and we leave out the bots.
Got you. Awesome. Another thing I was going to ask you is, you already mentioned it, I guess, like at one point of our conversation, kind of like saying that like you guys are not the only project, kind of like integrating this on-chain reputation mechanism. And I'm sure there are, kind of like competitors that you've been also like modeling this to. But I just wanted to get your opinion, maybe like also on like, what do you think is the correlation between something like you're doing with this on-chain reputation system and social fi projects that we've seen before, like Bags App and stuff like that. That's also kind of like moving into a sense of kind of like creating these, I guess we call them like KOL leaderboards, and then like basically like KOLs being able to like monetize from like their following and stuff like that. Do you think there's a correlation between these things or not really?
So the major difference here, is the Ludo rank.
Okay.
This is the algorithm, which you could say is the Google PageRank. That's a complicated thing to do, it to take the entire blockchain and put all those players into relation to calculate a rank. That's the major difference that we have, and those are the other projects that we know of that are in the space. They do not have a specific complicated algorithm that puts the reputation into context. That's the one major thing. Then the other thing is that those social fighters say they're off chain. Yeah, so we're talking about those metrics, and then we leave the 100% genuinity, because all of those things are not 100% real anymore, because you can fake, you can use outside, you can use the bots and all of those things. And that's a trend. It's nice, it's good, but they're basically giving you certain data, and there are a lot of other ones in the space that give you data, basically data to look into, raw data. But that it's still putting those data into context. So what does that all mean? That's the one thing that differentiates us, because data is on the blockchain, so everybody can read it out and provide data streams. And with those data streams, you can come and look in those charts and make your own assumptions. We take it one level further to put this data into relation, so you understand what it truly means. Because we can really understand, like in Amazon, for example, when you go buy a product, yeah, it says people that bought this product also bought this product. How is that possible? Because it understands. And we can do this deep with project as well, because we understand how the project is built, the user base, the behavior, and so on. So we can even make those kind of suggestions. But this needs a really deep understanding of all those data and putting them together. That's the one thing that separates us, because the reputation itself, also we have a cross-chain approach. So you can basically take your reputation from one blockchain and go to your other one. So when you come into a completely new blockchain and you are nobody there, you can connect your the other blockchain in Ludo and mint your reputation on the new blockchain. So therefore, you're maybe a king in the one and a nobody in the other, and you cannot do anything, but you can do this with us. So you can take it over and prove that you are somebody in the space.
Yeah, you can take your clout from other places and like make it visible, right?
Yes, and it's 100% decentralized as well. And the path forward will be that there'll be a DAO, and there'll be the community deciding which factors come into it. So the whole Ludo rank, well developed and maintained by Ludo, will go into a DAO, and then it will be the community deciding. And there'll be also the one thing that's also very important is the curation part. So we have a whole system that is coming up is with curators, people from the space, but also normal users, and that's where the Ludo NFT comes into play, and staking later on with the token. So you can put your reputation at stake and vote for a project. Okay, so you say, look, here's my tokens, I stake it, and then I say this project is good. So if this project tends to be a good one, then you get rewarded for your vote. And yeah, but if it's a scam one and you put your reputation there, then you will pay for it. Okay, and that's a very important thing. And then this goes also higher with people from the space, let's say blockchain owners or like major project owners. There'll be curators in the space, and they'll define in which direction projects come. And we will have those matrix that we have, like our whole algorithm says is a good project, but let's say the founder is a scammer, and then we have the high reputation curators that put the thumbs down. That will have an influence. Even if the whole algorithm says it's a good one, when certain high influential people say that's a bad project, it will have a huge impact.
It's going to aggregate the score.
Yes, exactly. So there'll be a whole curation system behind it that we're just expanding before we release this to the market, which will bring the whole community into it. So it's not just like a Google of the Web3 space and you just consume it, but it's one that you create. So people will be actively able to influence the market and then also get a hold of what they want to recommend or not. So now, because a KOL is not getting really punished, okay, what did I do? They just delete the tweet. Yeah. So when the brochure wasn't good,
nothing happened.
Yeah, but here will be a whole on-chain track of your reputation and of your votes that you have done, and you cannot fake that anymore. So then you'll be very careful.
Cool. Yeah, and I really commend you guys for like building stuff like this, because the space, as I said, needs more tools like this to basically like keep retail safe from like all the bad stuff that can happen on chain. And at the same time, it's like it reminds me of like, I'm sure you know how like Fjord Foundry also like introduced this kind of like model recently, where like before, every time you would go to like one of these, like, let's say like crowdfunding platforms with the project, it would always be a gamble, right? It's kind of like spray and pray,
yes. Yeah.
But with these tools that basically like let like specific opinion leaders kind of like curate and kind of like stand behind the stuff that they're pushing, I think that's going to be a game changer, and it's definitely like going to be better for the quality of the projects that are coming out of the space, for sure.
Absolutely. So we do have things in common there. We just look at the whole reputation and curation from a much higher view, like eagle perspective. We're not providing one solution. We're trying to bring all of those things together in one place.
For sure. Awesome. We're getting close to the end of our showtime here, so there's just like a couple more things I would like to get out of the way before I let you go, because I know you're a busy guy and you have stuff to do. First thing I would like to ask you is more so, I guess, like related to Funtico and the stuff that we're doing, but also like considering your experience and everything. What do you see as the biggest, I guess, like challenges and issues just for like in general for crypto gaming, and like how do you see the current, I guess, like landscape of crypto gaming as compared to 2021, where we had a lot of hype and a lot of money put into a lot of projects, which just kind of like fizzled out with like nothing to show for later. So just kind of like your sentiment on gaming and Web3 in general right now.
So I think one problem is the bot problem. That's the one thing. So there's a lot of traffic coming from fake users, basically non-existing users. That's one thing, which just takes out resources and also drains out tokens and so on. And the other thing is the hype has been gone, and now you need to build solid projects. So before, it was much easier to get funding for just an idea. Okay, there has been projects that didn't even bring out a project yet, but they've been collecting
$5 million.
I mean, I've been big on the Terra Luna, and they've been collecting money, but just showing some videos and just been collecting. Yeah, so that was possible. Nowadays, you cannot do this anymore. Yeah, it's the same thing with the whole ICO and all of those cycles we went through. So is also the hype of the gaming, and also I think personally the virtual worlds kind of thing is dried out somehow. Okay, so it's not really like virtual reality and so on. It doesn't have the hype. And I personally, just a personal opinion, I think if I don't use something, if I not put a virtual camera or like something on, who is going to do it? So I think that takes much more time. It needs to be much more seamless, maybe like glasses or I don't know, something, a solution
integrated into like daily life, right?
Yes, something like that. Yes, then it's possible. When here in London, when I go, to those places. I went to go like I think twice or something. My brain wouldn't cope with it. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
feel dizzy. Yeah, there's a certain dizziness, so you don't feel good. And then friends would say, "Yeah, you need 3-4 days to get adjusted." I said, "Why would I? Why would I suffer 3-4 days to get adjusted to this?" Okay, it's just a thing. I think that is coming. There's been a hype, but now it's got to be those projects that are here to stay, that build something with the passion because they believe in something, and they just keep doing and doing, and it will take time, but it also will make them stronger in the market. So you just do what you're doing, you stay strong, you just communicate. It will be slow, but it will get to a point where we just take off. And once it takes off, that is the market entry barrier for all those other projects, because it's not easy anymore. It's not easy to just come on. I don't say it's impossible, it's 100% possible, but the likelihood is very little that you just come and you just get an overnight sensation. So you gotta come into the space and come here to stay. And once you do it and you have a smart business plan behind it so you can survive financially to make it happen, then you will just grow, and then you'll be the very loyal community and tribe that will stay and stick with you. So exactly what you guys are doing, just being there, just promoting, going out, spreading the word, just doing it over and over and over again, and eventually you will have so many people that just, you just stay here forever.
Got you, for sure. Awesome. Uh, okay, there's just I guess a couple of more questions I'm gonna ask you, but this is gonna be on the behalf of the community. So I did grab a couple of like questions from our Twitter, and basically we have an interesting question here from Carter Vince. Who would like to know what role will AI-driven analytics from Ludo play in Funtico tournaments? Will this enhance skill-based gameplay and reduce exploitation? So again, as you said, like we don't have to get into I guess like how this will basically like be preventing or
No, I
like
mean, the answer is
excluding
very
people.
simple. The answer is
Yeah.
very simple. So we don't go into the tournaments part of things that does Fantico themselves. What we do is a pre-qualification for those who get an airdrop. So we filter out who is real or not, and then we give the good people from the space to Fantico, and then it will happen over there. So what happens with the tournaments, Fantico will then know with the AI is your technology, basically.
For sure, yeah. But what you're making sure is that we have real people trying to claim these rewards,
Exactly. We just filter. We just filter those out that are not real,
right? Gotcha.
so that you
Awesome.
guys don't have to fight against some bots.
For sure, for sure. Jahab, that's basically, I think, it for today's show. I don't know if you would like to have any closing words, for like anybody listening out there. I'm sure you want to like do a little call to action for everybody to go mint their Ludo reputation NFT and get involved with your products as well. But yeah, the floor is yours. Like if you have any
Okay,
final
perfect.
words.
So since you have a really nice announcement just going there all the time, and people just start, tend to oversee it, so they can go on ludo.com and they can sign up on the whitelist because it's not mintable yet, but it will play a major role in the future in the Ludo ecosystem, and also it gives you a Ludo airdrop, and it will give you access to opportunities. So it will be definitely worth to do it. And then we have also the site ludo.com/Fantico. Then they can go there and connect the wallet, and then they will be able to get 100 Ticos by claiming the opportunity. And in general, it's good to be in our ecosystem because we will have what we're doing with you with more and more projects coming up. So we're the space where you can get a lot of opportunities and airdrops, and why not?
Awesome. Awesome. Man, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Hope to have you come over sometime later in the year as well. So maybe we do another follow up on your stream. That being said, thank you for joining. Thank you for taking out the
Thank you very
time, and
much.
thank you for basically like letting all of the listeners know what Luda is all about. As previously mentioned, also, guys, apart from only checking out Luda.com, if you haven't, do go sign up on Fatico.com as well. Create your profile, get set up, get some Tico, and start playing some games and participating in tournaments where you can win huge rewards, right? We just gave out, I think, like 50K worth of NFTs to the number one winner in the last tournament that we did. So that was a huge deal, which is, I mean, 50K nowadays is life-changing money for a lot of
It
people. Let's
is.
be honest, guys.
It is.
So with all of that said, thank you for joining the show. Thank you for tuning in, everybody, and we'll hope to see you guys again very soon.
Perfect. Bye.